Have you heard the story of Ronald Reed? He was a janitor, lived a simple life, drove an old car, even chopped his own firewood. When he passed away in 2014, people were shocked to discover he had left behind over $8 million. No lottery ticket, no massive inheritance, just decades of saving consistently, investing patiently, and letting compounding do its quiet, invisible work. That story forces us to ask, is becoming wealthy really about intelligence, or is it about behavior? The truth is, financial success is not a hard science. It's not reserved for Harvard graduates or Wall Street insiders. It's a soft skill, a game of patience, discipline, and emotions. As Morgan Housel writes in The Psychology of Money, how you behave is often more important than what you know. So in this video, we're going to break down 5 powerful lessons from his book that can completely change the way you think about money, investing, and building wealth. Stick around for all 5, because if you can master these soft skills, you'll be way ahead of the average investor. Takeaway 1, pay the price. Everyone loves the idea of high returns, but few people are willing to pay the price. Think of it like buying something at a store. You see a watch you love, you know there's a price tag. You wouldn't dream of stealing it. You accept that if you want it, you must pay for it. Investing is no different. The price you pay for wealth in the stock market is volatility. Let me give you an example. Imagine you spotted Netflix back in 2010. You saw the streaming revolution coming. You invested big. Today, you'd be sitting on an absolute fortune. But here's the catch. On that journey, Netflix lost 80% of its value at one point. Multiple times, the stock dropped 30 to 50%. Could you really sit through those crashes without panicking? Could you look your spouse or kids in the eyes as your net worth got cut in half and still hold on? That's the true price of investing. Not dollars, not fees, emotional resilience. Even if you just bought an S&P 500 index fund in 1980, you'd face 13 years in total where your portfolio was down 20% and nearly a full year when it was down 50%. So remember, wealth creation doesn't come free. Volatility isn't a bug. It's the admission ticket to the game. Takeaway 2, never enough. Imagine you earn $500,000 a year. You're a top doctor. Nice house, vacations in Italy, luxury cars. You'd feel rich, right? Until you buy a vacation home in the Hamptons and realize your neighbor earns $10 million a year as a CEO. Suddenly your $500,000 feels small. But wait, it doesn't stop there. That CEO compares himself to Michael Jordan, worth $2 billion. And even Michael Jordan occasionally stands next to Jeff Bezos, worth over $200 billion. Here's the problem. In money, there's always a bigger fish. And if you're constantly measuring yourself against the next level, you'll never feel satisfied. That never enough mindset drives people to reckless risk-taking, leveraging their portfolio until a downturn wipes them out, cheating, lying, or committing fraud to climb higher, sacrificing family and health to chase more. The lesson? Define what's enough for you. We should never risk what we already have and need for what we don't have and don't need. Wealth isn't just about getting more. It's about knowing when to stop climbing the comparison ladder. Takeaway 3, crazy is in the eye of the beholder. Ever looked at someone's financial choices and thought, that's insane? For example, low-income households in the US spend over $400 a year on lottery tickets. That's 4 times more than wealthier households spend. And yet, 1/3 of Americans say they couldn't cover a $400 emergency. At first glance, crazy, right? But step into their shoes. When you live paycheck to paycheck, when saving feels impossible, when you can't afford vacations, new cars, or even sending your kids to college without debt, a lottery ticket is more than a gamble. It's a dream, a shot at the life they see others enjoying. Suddenly, it doesn't look so irrational. Here's the investing lesson. Everyone's behavior makes sense to them based on their background. That's why you shouldn't blindly copy another investor's strategy. A billionaire invests to stay rich. You might be investing to get rich. Very different goals. The takeaway? Don't judge. Don't copy. Build your own plan based on your situation, risk tolerance, and goals. Takeaway 4. Peekaboo. Black swans. The Great Depression. World War II. 2008. Financial crisis. COVID-19. What do they all have in common? They changed the world, shook the markets, and nobody saw them coming. Nassim Taleb calls these events black swans. They're outliers, totally unpredictable. They have massive impact. And afterward, we all pretend we should have seen it coming. Here's the danger. Investors waste time trying to predict the next crash. But the truth is, you can't. What you can do is prepare, both mentally and financially. Here's a stat that'll blow your mind. If you invested in the S&P 500 for 20 years, but missed the 4 best days in the market, your return would drop from 291% to 164%. Just 4 days made that difference. So if you panic sell during a crisis and miss the recovery, you've basically paid the ultimate price. The lesson? Stop obsessing over predictions. Stop listening to so-called experts telling you what's next. Instead, build resilience, diversify, keep cash buffers, and accept that crashes are part of the journey. Prepare to survive, not to predict. Takeaway 5. The seduction of pessimism. Imagine 2 headlines. Stock market crash ahead versus human progress will continue for decades. Which one grabs your attention? For most people, the negative one. Why? Because pessimism sounds smart. Optimism sounds naive. Psychologists like Daniel Kahneman explain it this way. Humans are wired to treat threats as more urgent than opportunities. Losses feel more painful than gains feel good. And because tragedies strike fast, like a crash overnight, while progress happens slowly, the negative stories always feel more dramatic, more convincing. But here's the truth. Over time, optimism wins. Life expectancy is rising. Technology is advancing. Energy is getting cheaper. Education is spreading. Yes, setbacks happen, but step back and the trend is clear. The world improves. So as an investor, don't fall for the seductive voice of pessimism. Be aware of risks, but align yourself with the long-term optimism that history has rewarded. Let's quickly wrap up the 5 lessons from the psychology of money. Pay the price. Volatility is the fee for long-term returns. Never enough. Don't sacrifice what you have for endless comparisons. Crazy is in the eye of the beholder. What looks irrational to you may be rational to someone else. PK. Boo. You can't predict crises, but you can prepare to survive them. The seduction of pessimism. Pessimism sounds smart, but optimism builds wealth. Master these soft skills, and you'll be far ahead of the majority of investors who focus only on numbers. That's it for today. But that's not it from Morgan Housel. If you haven't read The Psychology of Money, I highly recommend it. It's packed with timeless wisdom. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.